Thunder meets Amazon. The skies above New Olympus rumbled with a fury that mortals could not comprehend. A storm was brewing, not one of mere rain and thunder, but of destiny. The clouds split apart, lightning laced in golden fire, and through the crack in the heavens descended Thor, god of thunder, son of Odin, wielder of Mjolnir. His eyes glowed with stormlight, his cloak whipping like a crimson banner in the wind. But Thor was not here for conquest, nor was he summoned by the cries of war. He was following the whisper of the world tree Yggdrasil, a prophecy carried on the winds of Asgard. Seek the warrior whose spirit burns as bright as your storm. Together, you shall face the coming shadow. On the lush plains below, a woman stood waiting, though she did not know she was waiting for him. Her armor shimmered in the fading sun, forged of Amazonian steel. Her hair fell loose around her shoulders, and in her hand rested the shield of Themyscira. She was Diana, princess of the Amazons. Wonder Woman. She had been patrolling the edges of her realm, investigating tremors that shook the very foundations of the island. When the storm broke and Thor descended, she raised her shield without hesitation. "Another god falls from the sky," she said sharply, her voice steady as steel. "State your purpose before I decide you are a threat." Thor landed with a crash that shook the earth, Mjolnir slamming into the soil beside him. He stood tall, golden hair whipping in the storm. His lips curled into a half-smile. "I am no invader, warrior. I seek the champion spoken of in prophecy. A warrior with the courage of a lion and the heart of justice. And I believe," his eyes swept over her, lingering on the shield, the lasso at her side, the unwavering fire in her gaze. "I have found her." Diana's brow furrowed. She had fought gods before, Ars, Hades, even beings beyond Olympus. Trust was not easily given. "Prophecies are tools of tricksters," she replied. "If you wish to test my worth, then test it with steel." Thor's grin widened. "So be it." And the battle began. Mjolnir whirled, thunder crashing with each strike. Diana raised her shield, sparks flying as godly metal clashed with Amazonian bronze. She moved like the wind, her strikes sharp, precise, guided by centuries of training. Thor's attacks were a storm, wild and powerful, each blow capable of splitting mountains. For minutes that felt like eternity, the battlefield became a dance of power and grace. Villages miles away saw the flashes of their combat as if the sky itself was tearing apart. Neither held back, and yet neither sought to kill. Their strikes were tests, challenges, a clash of wills. At last, Diana's lasso flashed out, coiling around Thor's wrist. With a sharp pull, she yanked him forward, her eyes blazing. "Why do you seek me? Tell the truth." The magic of the lasso forced his words free. His voice thundered, not in arrogance, but in conviction. "Because the shadow rises. Because worlds will burn. And because alone, I am not enough. But with you, Amazon, we may stand a chance." For the first time, her shield lowered. Diana's expression softened, but only slightly. She had seen men of great power, and many had fallen to corruption. Yet there was something different in his tone, an honesty that resonated with the truth-bound magic itself. Before she could answer, the sky above them split again. This time, it was not Thor's storm. A celestial rift tore across the horizon, spilling forth creatures of nightmare. Winged beasts forged of metal and shadow, their roars shaking Olympus itself. At their head, a booming voice thundered across the battlefield. "Bring us the weapon. Bring us, the Hulk." Diana and Thor stood side by side now, their earlier duel forgotten. She tightened her grip on her sword. He raised Mjolnir, storm clouds forming at his command. Their eyes met for a brief heartbeat, two warriors bound not by prophecy alone, but by something deeper, respect, curiosity, and a spark of something both had long denied themselves. "Shall we?" Thor asked, lightning dancing across his palm. Diana smirked. "Try to keep up, Thunder God." And together, they charged into the storm. The rise of the Hulk. Far beyond the reaches of Earth, across the burning nebulae and the dark edges of forgotten galaxies, a shadow spread. The Celestials, those ancient architects of stars, had turned their gaze back to the mortal realms. They sought not to create, but to dominate. And in their hands, They held a weapon so powerful that even gods feared to speak his name. That weapon was the Hulk. Years before, when Earth's heroes had last seen him, Hulk had vanished into the void, another casualty of betrayal, of being too powerful, too dangerous, too untamed for the fragile world he had once called home. But exile did not bring him peace. No. It brought him to the Celestials. They found him broken, drifting through space, Banner's mind buried deep beneath mountains of rage. They caged him, studied him, and chained him to their will. Through cruel experiments, they sharpened his fury into a weapon of mass destruction. This was not the Hulk of old. This was something darker. Something greater. He was no longer just Bruce Banner's monster. He was Worldbreaker Hulk, a living apocalypse. The Celestial Assault. On New Olympus, the sky burned as the celestial rift widened. War beasts poured through, their wings slicing the air, their jaws dripping with cosmic fire. Thor and Diana fought as one, striking with fury and elegance, their blades and thunder lighting up the battlefield. Yet the true terror had not yet arrived. And then, they felt it. The ground trembled. The air grew heavy. A green glow seared through the rift. From the void emerged a figure, towering, muscles like mountains, skin radiating with a sickly emerald aura. His roar echoed across the realms, a sound that shattered mountains and silenced armies. The Hulk had returned. But this was not the ally they once knew. His eyes burned with emerald fire, cold and merciless. Chains of celestial steel still clung to his wrists, glowing with runes, feeding his rage and binding him to their will. Thor's face tightened. "Banner," he whispered, as if calling to a lost brother. Diana stepped forward, her shield raised, sensing the depth of his torment. "That is no mindless beast," she said. "That is a man enslaved." But the Hulk's voice, deeper and harsher than ever, shook the battlefield. "Banner is gone. There is only Hulk." Clash of Titans. The storm broke. Hulk charged. Thor swung Mjolnir, lightning exploding against Hulk's chest. But Hulk only staggered, then grabbed the hammer mid-swing and hurled Thor across the plains like a rag doll. Diana leapt forward, her blade flashing, striking with Amazonian precision. The sword cut into Hulk's side, drawing green blood, but instead of slowing, it only fueled his rage. His hand shot out, grabbing her shield, and with one crushing grip, he shattered the unshatterable. The impact threw her back, dust and fire erupting around her. For the first time in years, Wonder Woman bled. Thor rose, battered but unbroken, lightning crawling across his body. He called upon the full storm, bolts striking down around him as he rejoined the fight. Together, he and Diana unleashed their might. Thunder and steel, lasso and storm, God and Amazon united. But Hulk was unstoppable. Every strike only made him stronger. Every wound healed in seconds. His fists tore through mountains, his roar split the heavens. He fought not as a man, not even as a beast, but as a god of destruction, unchained. The fractured soul. And yet, something flickered. Diana, pinned beneath Hulk's grip, looked into his blazing eyes and spoke, not to the monster, but to the man buried deep within. "You are not their slave," she gasped, her voice fierce despite the pain. "You are Bruce Banner. A protector. A hero. You fight for life, not for them." For the briefest of moments, Hulk's hand trembled. His roar faltered. Inside that emerald fire, Banner stirred, a flicker of humanity, a whisper of the man who once fought beside Earth's mightiest heroes. But the celestial chains glowed brighter, feeding his rage, drowning his mind again. He roared louder, smashing Diana aside, shaking the ground. Thor, dragging himself from the rubble, saw it, the hesitation, the crack in the monster's armor. He realized then that brute strength alone would never defeat Hulk. To win this war, they would have to save him, not destroy him. The god of thunder raised Mjolnir high, lightning surging. "Hold fast, Amazon. He is not lost yet." And Wonder Woman, blooded but unbowed, rose to her feet once more. Her lasso glowed with divine truth, ready to pierce the lies of rage and reach the man within the monster. But even as hope flickered, the sky darkened further. The Celestials themselves began to descend, their towering forms blotting out the stars. And at their command, Hulk's fury doubled. The real war was only beginning. Hearts across the stars. The skies of New Olympus had been scarred by fire. Armies of shadow beasts lay in ruin, the land cracked and broken beneath the footsteps of gods. But the battle was far from over. Through the widening celestial rift, they descended, towering beings of impossible size, their forms glowing like living stars, their voices shaking the cosmos itself. Each step they took bent reality, each gesture twisted the fabric of creation. And before them stood their weapon, their war god, their chained titan, the Hulk. Thor tightened his grip on Mjolnir, battered but unyielding, sparks dancing across his bruised arms. Beside him, Wonder Woman wiped blood from her lips, her lasso coiling with golden fire. They were warriors of legend, but against Hulk, twisted by celestial control, even they faltered. Hulk roared, slamming his fists together with the force of a supernova. The shockwave leveled entire mountains. "This world will break," his voice thundered, half monster, half man, drowning in rage. Crossed swords, the impossible battle. The war erupted again, fiercer than before. Thor unleashed the full storm, lightning splitting the heavens, striking Hulk again and again. But Hulk absorbed it, glowing brighter, his strength swelling with every strike. He leapt through the tempest and slammed his fist into Thor's chest, sending the thunder god hurtling across the plains, blood spraying from his lips. Diana rushed forward, her sword flashing. She moved with the grace of centuries of training, each strike precise, aiming not to kill, but to awaken. Her blade nicked his skin, her lasso looped around his arm, glowing with truth. For a heartbeat, she saw Bruce Banner inside the storm, a man drowning, reaching, begging. "Bruce! Fight them! You are not their slave," she cried. But the Celestials spoke in unison, their voices filling Hulk's mind like poison. "You are not Bruce. You are Hulk. You are our destroyer." Hulk roared, his fist slamming into the ground, creating a crater that swallowed Diana whole. She vanished in dust and fire. Thor, broken but alive, pulled himself from the rubble. His heart sank, until he saw a golden glow through the dust. Diana rose again, her armor cracked, her body blooded, but her spirit unbroken. And Thor knew then, they had one final chance. Milky Way breaking the chains. Thor staggered to her side. "We cannot defeat him with strength," he said, his voice hoarse. "Only with truth." Diana's eyes blazed with determination. "Then let us show him what he has forgotten." Together, they struck, not at Hulk's body, but at his soul. Diana hurled her lasso, golden light wrapping around Hulk's chest, binding tighter than any chain. The magic of truth surged through him, tearing at the lies the Celestials had woven. At the same time, Thor lifted Mjolnir high, calling not just on lightning, but on the ancient storm of life itself, the breath of creation that flowed through Asgard's heart. The storm and the lasso intertwined, light and thunder flooding Hulk's body. He screamed, his roar splitting the stars, as Banner's memories tore through the rage. The face of Natasha Romanoff, the friend who once saw the man inside the monster. The laughter of comrades who called him an avenger. The quiet moments where he wished only for peace. The celestial chains glowed brighter, trying to crush those memories. But Diana's voice rang out like a clarion call. "You are more than your rage. You are more than their weapon. You are Bruce Banner, and the world needs you." Thor's thunder followed. "Remember who you are, Hulk. Not destroyer, but protector." Glowing star, the awakening. And then, the impossible happened. The chains cracked. Hulk fell to his knees, clutching his head, roaring in agony. Light split his chest, green and gold intertwining. For a moment, the monster seemed to die. But in its place rose something new. Banner's mind returned, but not to suppress the Hulk, this time, to embrace him. His voice rumbled, deeper but steady. "I am not your weapon. I am not your slave. I am Hulk, and I am Bruce Banner." With a final shattering roar, he ripped the celestial chains from his body and hurled them into the void. Power surged through him, but for the first time, it was his. The Celestials, shocked, stepped back. But it was too late. The weapon they had forged now turned against them. High voltage sign, the final stand. Hulk rose, taller than before, eyes blazing with emerald fire, but no longer twisted. This was not the mindless rage of the past. This was a Titan reborn, a protector unleashed. Thor joined him, Storm at his back. Diana stood at his side, her lasso blazing like the sun. Together, they charged. The battle was cosmic. Hulk's fists shattered celestial armor. Thor's lightning split their cosmic forms. Diana's lasso bound them in truth, forcing their lies to collapse. One by one, the Celestials fell, their rift collapsing behind them until the void was sealed. At last, silence fell. The battlefield was still. The storm cleared. Red Heart # Galactic Hearts. Thor stood, exhausted, blooded, but smiling. He looked at Diana, admiration shining in his eyes. Truly, you are the warrior of prophecy. She met his gaze, breathing hard, but with a hint of a smile. And you, Thunder God, are not as reckless as I thought. Hulk stood between them, chest heaving, finally free. For the first time in years, there was peace in his eyes. I remember who I am. And I choose to fight, not for them, but for life. The three warriors, born of different worlds, now stood united. Not just as allies, but as something greater, a bond forged in fire, storm, and truth. Across the stars, songs would be sung of this day. Not of gods or monsters, but of three hearts that stood against the end. And thus, a new legend was born. The legend of Galactic Hearts.